Oh, hi, Emma. Do you want to talk about some movies? Well, I say we enjoy our fine, classy beverages and talk about some less than classy movies.
Cheers.
Cheers!
I guess
Music, but yeah.
before we move on, we should probably explain the premise of what's happening.
We probably should. Yeah, I
know. Chris is a huge fan of gory horror movies.
Yes.
And I enjoy hearing about horror movies. I like scary things, but I hate body gore. So, usually when we have conversations about movies, it's Chris explaining to me the most gory thing because I will never watch it. So we figured we could just chat about it, and maybe if at the end of this discussion I've sort of pieced together what's happening, I'll try to make a trailer out of it and see if what my
oh my god
what my thoughts or what you have explained to me have correctly depicted the movie well enough that I can create a whole trailer. And then maybe if I like it so much I'll watch it, but that's getting ahead of myself, so
I can tell you right now, you can definitely cross one of the two off the list. Oh, Delali. It's all right. So I watched two movies today.
Did you now?
Yes, I watched. So the first one I watched was Possessor, and that's a movie made by David Cronenberg's son. David Cronenberg's the guy who made The Fly, and he's like the godfather of body horror, and he...
Ooh, is it like practical effects kind
It
of
is
thing?
practical effects, so that was definitely the draw of it. The woman's the title card of the movie is the main character's face is pudding. So it's it's just this gloopy mess. And
wait, so explain what...
That's the cover, literally the title of the movie. If you just go to watch it streaming, you'll just see a gloop Play-Doh face. It's
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I might have a hard time with that.
It's more. It's definitely okay. So there's an uncut and a normal version. I watched the uncut version, and upon watching it, I think I actually. Well, it's hard to say. I don't think I've ever said this before. If I think I'd prefer to watch the non-uncut version. I think I'd rather watch the tamer one.
Really?
Because I think
that's saying something. Then.
I know. But the premise of it is that there's this weird future company that uses agents to go inside people's brains and possess them, hence the name Possessor, but it's through science instead of, exorcism, religious nonsense. And they essentially have to, complete a task, but to get out of, which is generally an extremely violent thing, once they've completed said horrifying task, to get out of that body, they have to kill the body. So they have to put a gun into their mouth and shoot themselves. But the real trick is there's a weird sync thing with the brain of the host with the brain of the person who's jacking in. So if you're not synced up enough, when you try to kill yourself, the brain of the original host will start fighting back to try not to die. And so there's just this opening scene of this woman getting ready, and she injects this needle into the top of her head, and she starts fiddling with this knob, and it makes her start to laugh and cry and do all this weird shit, and you don't have no idea, you don't know that she's possessed yet. This is before you find out about it, and she's just standing in front of this mirror crying and laughing, and then she gets herself together, pulls this little thing out of her head. It's a really goopy version of The Matrix, but it's way tinier, but somehow it makes it worse because it's
sound effects.
Oh well, the sound effects are pretty gross, but it's this movie does one thing very well, and it's a hyper close-up gore, which he definitely that's David Cronenberg. That's Papa's touch right there. That man.
Because that is the thing I can't do.
Yeah.
I cannot do the close-up, like, ultra-graphic gore.
Yeah.
I can't.
This movie has a few of those scenes in it, and they are pretty gross. That's some of the stuff that almost goes too far for me, because it's just like, it's almost like too real and dry, the gore, where it's like, I realize that the gore isn't nearly as fun when there isn't, like, something goofy attached to it, when it's like, when there's not, like, that outwardly kind of, I don't know, extraterrestrial theme or something. Like, it's fine when I see a bunch of aliens tearing apart a dude. It's like, whatever, that's fine. It's aliens tearing apart a dude. But when I see one dude jamming a fire poker into another dude's mouth and then wriggling around while he's puking up blood, and then it just goes to a hyper-zoomed shot of him fucking chipping out his teeth with the fire poker, and then for good measure, he close up stabs it into his eye and pops it out like a little candy, and it's like, it's just blood going everywhere. It was Sean Bean's goriest death. That is definitely like the goriest.
Well, it's funny because it actually reminds me of I watched this for the first time recently, and I can't remember the name of it. It's the one that has young John Cusack in it, and he's going inside of a dude's brain.
Oh, is it Chain Identities? Where there's like 5 of them, and they're
John
all...
Malkovich, being John
Oh,
Malkovich.
that's a very different movie!
It's so stupid. It's so goofy.
Oh, God.
But, like, they go into a person's brain and, like, take over. So it's immediately like, John Malkovich.
Why not pick him to be the person that you take over?
Oh.
I've seen, like, half of that movie.
So I finished it. I know this isn't about this movie, but I finished it, and it is, like, it is delightful and disturbing and dumb. Like, it's kind of all of those things.
Yeah.
There are things that are very outwardly goofy, where it's like, yeah, sure, let's put them on the 7.5 floor for no reason. Like, that's
that's right. They have, like, the half floor in between, and it's, like, super
so
tiny,
goofy.
right? Yeah.
For absolutely no reason. And then there's other things that are just so serious about it. But probably why it's charming is because they're playing it off so straight. But I was just like, what? Like, this is not addressed anywhere? How, like, goofy this is.
That director is, like, very, very dry, that guy.
Oh, it was extremely dry. But anyways... Yeah. That's a little bit off topic, but it just reminded when you're talking about that, I couldn't help but just picture.
It's like the most gory version of being John Malkovich.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah, that's actually a good way to put it. It's like a really kind of like horrifying being John Malkovich.
Malkovich.
So you've explained a lot of the gore, but like, what is the plot and like the premise?
Yeah, so like the movie starts off pretty good. You got the really violent scene, and she's in this like party, and she has to murder some guy who's like a target. And then it goes back into her body in the real world, and she's talking to this like woman who's like her mentor, and she has to do all these like mental checks to like try to see if like she's still there. So it's like things from her childhood, so that she can like reorient her brain from like her like possessor brain. And but the one thing that I wish they kind of explained more is that for whatever reason she's like becoming more desensitized, but desensitized translates into just becoming like ultra violent. So like I don't really like understand how exactly being desensitized translates into like becoming like an extreme raging like psycho, because
is this person an assassin?
They are an assassin. Yeah. So like I guess her whole job is to murder people. So that would definitely fuck with your brain.
I'm remembering like some clips from it that I've seen on the internet, but Well,
the actress who I actually quite like, who's in quite a few horror movies lately, is the actress from Mandy. Is the main woman in it.
Okay, yeah.
She's actually super British and very blonde. Because she has like dark hair in Mandy, and she's like a crazy scar, and like... She looks way more normal in this until she becomes a goop face. So Mandy is like coming out, and she wants to...
Wait. Her name is Mandy?
No, her name's not. I don't even remember what her name is. Oh, no, yeah. They actually say it a whole bunch, but it's weird. And... didn't really matter.
Fine, her name's Mandy now.
Her name's Mandy. So yeah, actress Mandy goes to her, like, you find out she's estranged from her, like, she's divorced or separated from her husband or something, so she, like, wants to go see her son and her husband, and they have, like, this super awkward dinner, and she, like, tries to, like, fake her emotions before she gets in the house so that she can, like, practice.
Yeah, right.
And so that's pretty interesting. And then she has this, like, terrible night with her family, and she's talking about how she wants to take time off, but then she has sex with her husband, and, like, while she's doing that, she's just, like, completely blank, staring in the face and, like, emotionless, and then at that point she decides to, like, go to the next mission. And so this is where the main plot of the movie comes in. And you can pretty much break down the main plot of the movie. I mean this in the best way, because it's a lot better than what I'm about to say, but it's like an Adam Sandler comedy I thought about.
What?
About how they need to get, how the corporate guy needs to get the big ticket item guy. They need to, like, land the big corporate guy for their advertisement company. It's like this Possessor company is like assassins that get hired by people to go and murder people. So, and they're the mentor woman is like, we have this really big client coming up, and it's the most important one, and it's for tons of money. So are you willing to do it? And she's like, yeah, I'll do it. So I'm like, your only motivation is money for your big client that you have to land. I'm like, this is like, if you break it down, the premise of a really crappy Adam Sandler movie, where it's just like Adam Sandler in anger management is trying to get his fat cat sweaters made for his boss who he's trying to schmooze, and he doesn't land it until the end of the movie. Like,
oh man.
So, it is kind of funny when I started to think about how, at the basis of it, the actual, like, plot of the movie is very silly. But the plot of the movie is very much not what the movie is about. Like,
yeah,
it's just there to get to the mental stuff.
It's a basic, like, structure of a plot that you could
Yeah.
turn into an Adam Sandler movie.
It is, and that's like...
Or you could turn into, like, someone else.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why I didn't enjoy the movie as much, is because when you looked at the basic idea of the story, it was like all of the ideas were really creative of how the machines worked and the mind stuff happened. You could tell they spent a lot of time, like, figuring out the visuals, because there's tons of crazy visuals.
Yeah.
But then they kind of left the actual story behind, so I guess it's a little more of an abstract, artsy movie for my taste, where it's like, I love horror, but horror can sometimes get a little too artsy and visual for its own good, where it's like, there isn't really a story to support the visual side of it.
Interesting, because I think I like those types of movies more, but it's hard for me to watch them.
Yeah,
Because, I mean, I enjoyed watching Midsummer more than you did.
exactly.
But the things I liked about it were not the horror aspects. It was like the representation of certain, like, emotions that you could, like, get across through film.
Yeah, and it's, like, funny because it's like I'll feel those emotions, and then I'll, like, start to think about, I'm like, well, why am I feeling them? And if I don't have a good answer for that, then I start to, like, tune out in a movie. I think.
Why am I feeling this? I don't care.
Yeah, or it's like, well,
I'm bored.
It's like, oh, because I want to, like, it's like, I'm feeling the feeling now. Okay, so why am I feeling it? And I'll start to think about the story, and it's like, oh, in Midsummer, it's like they're gutting a bear and lighting him on fire. Like, after she gets the big client and they land the big contract to murder Sean Bean and his family, Mandy has to download her brain into this drug dealer guy's head who's dating the daughter of Sean Bean. And Sean Bean is the CEO of this, like, data mining company. As soon as I saw that Sean Bean was in the movie, I'm like, well, he's definitely gonna die. Because it's like, you don't cast Sean Bean unless he's gonna goddamn die.
He
dies everything he's in, almost to the point where it's a plot ruiner for me. Because as soon as I saw, I'm like, oh goddamn, Sean Bean's in this. I'm like, he's definitely gonna die. I'm like, I already know that. It's more of a shock if he lived through the movie.
Yeah.
I'd be blown away if Sean Bean actually survives through one of the movies I watch with him in it. I don't think I've ever seen a movie where he doesn't die. I don't.
Nope. I don't think I have either, but I don't remember many movies that he's in, to be fair.
He's in this movie called Ronin, and I think he gets to walk away in that movie.
Oh.
So he doesn't die, but he's only in the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Okay.
But anyway, so she has to go into his brain, and it's like, this is where the visuals go really weird, because she's battling with her own, like, I guess, issues that she's not telling the company about, and she's supposed to, like, she's the protege to be the next great Possessor person who she's under her tutelage. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Annihilation.
Oh, yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, so the woman who has cancer, who's in charge of the Annihilation team,
Yeah.
she's in Possessor, and she's the boss of Mandy.
Okay.
And she's, like, the one who started the company, and she can't go into people's minds anymore because she's too old. So she has to, like, try to get Mandy to do it. And so she has 3 days to complete this task, and she goes into the cocaine dealer's head and then starts, like, kind of going weird, and then she lives his life for a little bit. But there's another weird thing that I kind of started to think about. She didn't actually really know much about how to act in front of the person, his girlfriend, who she's supposed to be kind of, like, tricking into thinking that she's him.
Yeah.
But she never really learned any background information about these characters, so she's just acting like she would be acting, not how this Hispanic cocaine dealer, not a white British woman, would be acting. She's like, hello. It's just like, she doesn't have an accent, but it's like, when you hear, it's like, and she, like, looks like she's freaked the fuck out, and she's, like, standing in the kitchen, but she's in the body of this Hispanic drug dealer.
Oh my God.
And it's just like, you would never pull this off. How has this company survived for so long? It's like, you didn't done any research to figure out what she likes, what you know about her. Like, she asks her a basic question and she, like, dodges it instead of, like, knowing the answer. It's like, wouldn't you know these things before? Like, risking murdering multiple people.
You would have done so much research into this person that it would be absolutely flawless.
Yeah, and they have, like,
you're a method actor to, like, the most, like,
intense degree. You're like a psycho that could just, like, like, adapt chameleon to them, and she should be amazing at, like, just blending in flawlessly to other people. And then she goes into the cocaine dealers, super unprepared, and then she goes to her she goes to her weird job, which is kind of an interesting part because in the future they work at, like, he works in this data mining company, and so, like, people it's almost like a mini episode of Black Mirror. Like, they don't get into the explanation a lot, but I'd be like, I want to know more about this company. Like, this is fucked up. Like, they just have this, like, basement of people, and they all put on these little goggles, these little glasses, and they just sit and watch people's, like, cameras that, like, this company has installed into their home, and they data mine from the video feed. But, like, sometimes the people are home and they're in the camera, sometimes they're not, sometimes, like, the camera's in the bedroom and, like, they're having sex while you're trying to look at the curtains that they own. Jesus. Like, this, of course, that's the big one. Like, he switches to this camera and she just sees these two people going at it in their bedroom, but his job is to catalog everybody's curtains, the style, and the rod they use. That's his entire job, is to just go through camera feeds, isolating that and going through it. And then, like, he goes too slow and this little voice comes in his head and tells him to, like, you're going slow, you gotta speed up. And it's like there's just people all around him, like, just like a giant line of people, and he just keeps clicking through cameras all day long and just doing this. But, like, he eventually stops because the camera, like, fucks with, like, the weird link that they have with his brain and starts freaking out, and he has to, like, leave. And then she goes, and the whole elaborate thing is to, like, murder him at this party.
Then Mike Sean Bean. And so drug dealer guy goes with his girlfriend to the party, and she has to create the scene to, like, get kicked out because they have to create this, like, narrative, because essentially, like, Sean Bean's brother, I think, has hired this company to murder his whole family so that he can become the CEO of the company. And so he goes in, does all of that, and then manages to come back in, has a gun, but doesn't kill Sean Bean, beats the shit out of him with the fire poker, as I described earlier. The daughter's still at the house. For some reason, Mandy can shoot her perfectly fine with a gun, shoots her twice in the back and kills her, but then decides to just beat the ever-loving shit out of Sean Bean, doesn't shoot him, and then I think she just leaves.
And then you hear on the radio later that she didn't even end up killing the guy, and he's just in critical condition. The guy who has eyeball poked out, all of his teeth shattered, and, like, the fire poker just jammed into his mouth, into his neck, and just...
Oh, damn, that's right! I forgot the part that I was about to get to that I skipped over. Was definitely hands down the creepiest thing I've seen in a movie in a long time. And all I wrote in my notes was one word. Chick dick. there is a scene where Mandy, as possessed drug dealer guy, is having sex with his girlfriend, but during that, she starts her brain starts to bleed in more, and then it kind of looks like they're having sex, and then there's just like this one scene where like Mandy pulls back and she's just kind of like standing there, and she just has this giant rock hard rod penis. It just like kind of stands there, and then it cuts, and that's it. But I'm like, God damn, it was almost like I couldn't help but laugh. It's like neon lighting purple girl dick that's just like, and it looked pretty fake too, so it's like
just like the comedic timing of you just like cutting.
She kind of looked like, yeah, she's just like like you could tell they really wanted to make sure that you knew the dick was there, like when they were filming it, so she's like really standing back and like
I feel like in order to like pull that off, it's almost like the woman has to be like horrified of it, but she seemed like she was owning it.
Yeah, because she's still like part of her own brain, and it's such a brief like shot too, so it's like it's just like her blank face, so it's not like there's any emotion attached to it. It's just like, okay, throwing the girl dick. After they kill Sean Bean, she's supposed to leave, but she can't kill herself because she doesn't have control over her body. So the guy starts to take back control, and this is where the visuals this is where Play-Doh face comes in. And so she like this helper guy comes and like tries to like reboot her brain essentially to give her back control. It doesn't work properly, and while they're doing it, like there's like this weird imagery. This guy's like literally has like a plug in her brain trying to redial up her brain, and as like this like light keeps changing, you see like the guy who she's possessed is like walking up to her in her own brain, and then like he just starts choking her and she can't move for whatever reason, and then he just grabs the sides of her face and it just goes boop. It just like goes from like full skull to just rubber plastic mask, and like there's no blood, nothing, all the bones just disappear, goes boop. It's just like she just picks up her rubber mask and then puts it on, and then he wears her Play-Doh face while reliving all of her life events throughout that happened at the beginning of the movie. But it's the exact same events, but they just refilmed it with this guy's body wearing her Play-Doh face.
Holy fuck.
So then he gets to have sex with her husband with the Play-Doh face on, but it's his body.
This just sounds
it's
so extra.
It's so extra. It's just, I don't know, again, maybe someone else could take it more seriously, but like when you just see this guy wearing this clear rubber mask of this woman that's like kind of fucked up looking, and it's just all the hard cuts through like the events that already happened to her. It's just more weird to me than anything else. Yeah. It's not horrific or anything. I'm not like, oh, whoa. I'm just like, he's wearing this really stupid thing on his head. Like, it's pretty dumb looking. I don't know. Like, I guess maybe if you didn't look at maybe I was too picky about the prosthetics. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too much of a snob when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, but after some of the horrific close-up gore, then you get stuff where like it's a penis, like a cheap penis on a chick for one frame.
Yeah, one scene and shot.
One blip.
Yeah.
And then it's this dude wearing like a mask of this woman, and it's all floppy and dumb. It's like, what are you trying to make me take this seriously? Because
it just seemed like
I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't have been able to.
Yeah, no. It just seemed like they really wanted to make the gore look super realistic. Like there's just like kind of like an excessive part where like the dad gets his like fingers chopped off at the end of the movie, and it's just like a close up shot of the chopped off fingers, and they're kind of moving, but like. You don't need that in the movie. It doesn't serve a story point. You just wanted to show that we made a prosthetic that looked like realistic chopped off fingers that still moved a bit.
Seeing chopped off fingers isn't the scary part anyway. No. The terrifying part is seeing the action of the cut off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In itself, and you don't need to have like a moving finger for that. It's just a quick cut.
Yeah,
it's scary.
Yeah, that is better because he's getting attacked, and so they actually like take away from the attack by cutting to just a shot of the fingers, but the attack is still going on, so it's like you're kind of wasting the shot because it's not serving any purpose.
Yeah.
And it deflates from the attack that's happening, and the dad getting like chopped up with like a butcher. And then so the climax of the movie is that Mandy's son gets possessed by Mandy's boss, and then Mandy's boss stabs her in the throat with a knife the exact same way, an imagery of the first stab from the movie. So they're all bringing the stabs in full circle, full circle stabbings. The stabbing had more of a story arc than the rest of the characters. So the little kid stabs him, and then for some reason, Mandy in the body of the dude, I guess because like they're both kind of in control at that point, he fucking shoots the kid right in the gut, and then like stops, but then like it cuts to like Mandy in control, and the drug dealer stops after shooting the kid once, but Mandy decides to like completely blow him away and just like shoot him like 6 times, one right through the head, blows up the back of his head, like just so covered in blood. This little kid just gets blown away, and then Mandy gets taken out of the machine, and it ends with her doing the identity test. But they don't mention the fact that she failed her fucking mission, and that the guy who was just supposed to kill Sean Bean and the wife and then kill himself went on a killing spree in 2 separate locations where the police are probably eventually going to wonder why he killed what appears to be 3 separate random groups of people. Like, the 2 groups of people are kind of interconnected that he kills, but then, like, Mandy's family, there's no way that they're connected any way to, like, the CEO and all that stuff. So, like, their company's pretty much fucked. Like, they didn't kill Sean Bean. He's still alive, so they don't succeed at that. Her whole family's dead now. And it kind of implies that, like, Mandy's, like, boss was always trying to get her to kill her family, I guess, because she keeps saying that she's a distraction.
Yeah.
And at the very end of the movie, you can like hear a whisper in her head saying, like, oh, they're a distraction, get rid of them. And so I guess that was supposed to be kind of like the twist, is that like the boss kind of maybe had this set up already, but I just don't think she could have pre-planned all of these fuck-ups happening.
Yeah.
So if she did pre-plan it, that like takes insane amounts of magical foresight to be able to set all of the events into progress. And then, or it was just a bunch of random shit, and she didn't really I guess she just doesn't give a shit. I guess she doesn't care about her company.
Lord.
She just likes Mandy a lot. And then it just ends.
Okay.
And then
Well, I don't know how. I feel like I've somehow managed to get a little bit drunk over the course of it. Like, I feel like I'm gonna need to rewatch this conversation in order to like.
I crisscrossed a bunch too. I'll try to stay a little more like down the straight line.
In this line of work, there are many side effects with what we do. But if you stick with it, I have no doubt that you will see the benefits. So tell me, you really want to be a possessor?
I've heard about the nipples, and I don't want to see someone's nipples.
It's more of like a peck.